Throughout my curly hair journey, I've made a ton of mistakes. I'm sure you can relate if you're also a person with curly hair, and that's why today I want to be sharing with you guys my top 10 curly mistakes so you can be not like me and avoid doing all of these things. Let's get into it. The first mistake that I used to make is not wetting my hair enough before I would style it. One of my favorite items to have is one of these continuous spray bottles, so you can wet your hair like this. You can also just cleanse your hair in the shower beforehand, but I personally like to just use a spray bottle sometimes because I think it's easier. You don't want your hair to be too wet, like dripping wet, but you definitely want it to be damp enough so that when you apply product and comb through your hair, it's going to be a lot easier and your hair is not going to turn out as frizzy. Mistake number 2 is that I wouldn't use enough product when styling my hair, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my conditioner. You want to make sure that you use enough product for your hair, otherwise it's honestly not really worth it to style your hair because it's not going to do much. So figure out the right amount for your hair. Mine is about this much, and I've done this enough times where I can kind of just eyeball what the right amount is. Which brings us to mistake number 3, which is applying my products wrong. So what I like to do now is coat my hands like this, and then you want to flip your hair to the side kind of like that and use what you call praying hands, where you put your hands together like this and kind of run them down your hair. And this really helps to evenly distribute the product in your hair before you comb it through. And you want to avoid your root area, especially with conditioner. I am guilty of doing this myself, but you really want to get it from the middle part of your hair all the way down to the ends. And I'll kind of like grip it like this after I use praying hands to just really make sure that I get all that product off of my hands. This brings me to the next mistake, which is combing my hair from the top to the bottom, which is not good. You don't want to do this. You actually want to comb from the bottom to the top of your hair instead, and you can either use a brush like this one or you can use a wide tooth comb like this. Either one is fine. My personal preference is more like this style, and I like to start by kind of gripping my hair and combing from the bottom up. And you want to work in small sections and just work your way up to the top of your head, because otherwise if you started up here and tried to go down, the brush can get stuck here and cause a lot of like knots in the middle. This also just makes the detangling process a lot less painful and a lot quicker. Also, if you guys are interested in any of these products or brushes and combs that I'm using, I will link them down in the description below, so be sure to go check those out. This brings me to the next mistake, which is not using a styling brush. So I like to use the Denman brush and actually work in layers, and I find that this adds a lot more definition to my hair rather than just using my fingers to comb through it or just a brush like this. So I like to take little sections, and I like to take the Denman brush and just really comb through my hair like this. There's a lot of different ways to Denman style your hair. I can make a video on this, but personally I like to comb through and then up on my roots like this, and then kind of twist it, and this just adds a lot more definition to the different pieces of my hair. You can already see the curl starting to form at the bottom, and this is really going to help the definition of your hair so much. I also really like to take a mousse after I comb through with the Denman brush like this and just scrunch it up and through after I use the Denman brush. Here's what it looks like. This next mistake I'm going to be talking about while I apply some gel into my hair, and this mistake is thinking that every product that you see will work for your hair just like it does for other people's hair. Different products work differently for everyone's hair. Just because you see a product working super well on someone's hair doesn't mean that that product is going to work on your hair type. I used to just buy a lot of different products because I would see different curly hair influencers using them, or people who just had beautiful hair. And then I would be disappointed because I'm like, why is this not doing the same thing for my hair? But we had 2 completely different curl types. Not every product is going to work exactly the same on your hair type as it is on someone else's, so don't be discouraged if that happens to you. Just keep trying different products. My next curly hair mistake is not getting out excess water before drying my hair. So now what I like to do is I like to use a soft cotton towel. You can also use a microfiber towel. Just make sure it's either a microfiber towel or a soft cotton towel, because otherwise it will give your hair a lot of unnecessary frizz and just will undo the whole styling process that you just did, which you don't want to have happen. So I like to just scrunch my hair like this. It's just going to get out all of that excess moisture so that you don't have to spend a lot of time diffusing your hair. So I do this for maybe like a minute or 2 minutes and just kind of try to get as much water out as I can. Drying your hair as a curly haired person can already take a lot of time, So I find that this step really helps to cut down on that time and just makes it a lot easier to dry. Look at all of this moisture already that's come out of my hair. That's like exactly what you want to see. My next curly hair mistake is air drying my hair. For me personally, it can just take hours, honestly like a full day for my curls to fully dry if I'm air drying. Your curls are also more susceptible to damage when they're wet, so I just like to have my hair as dry as possible, as soon as possible. So I recommend for this to use a diffuser. Don't use a normal hair dryer. It will not work the same way. You want to use a diffuser because it diffuses the air correctly for your hair to not turn out frizzy. I like to use this and just hover dry all over my hair. I focus on the roots first with a little bit of heat, and then I'll kind of work through the rest of my hair on a little bit lower of a heat setting. Okay, so now that my hair is nice and dry, my next mistake that I wanted to share with you is touching your hair before it is fully dry. Now, even though my hair looks wet, I actually fully diffused it. It is completely dry, but I can feel a little bit of the gel cast on it, which is perfect because I'm gonna go ahead and scrunch it out. You can use a little bit of oil to do this. I like to use Argan Oil, and I just use a tiny little drop of it and I spread it in my hands like this. And then once my hair is fully dry and I can feel that cast on my hair but no wetness, I like to go ahead and scrunch out that curly hair cast. If you touch your hair before it's fully dry, this can just lead to, again, a lot of frizz and just not as much definition as you'd want. And I like to scrunch mine quite a bit because I find that there's a lot of places in my hair where I can feel that hard cast. I find that doing this really helps to soften the curls and not make them look as coated in gel and hard, and it also adds a lot of volume to my hair. You can already kind of see that happening now. And I kind of flip my hair back and forth and I'll just keep scrunching like this until I like how it looks. Look at all of that volume already. It looks so beautiful. Using the oil when you do this too really adds a little bit of shine and just helps to protect your hair as well. Look at how beautiful these curls are looking. They're so bouncy and defined and just soft and pretty. So now that my curls are nice and defined and dry and beautiful, I obviously don't want all of this styling to go to waste. So my last mistake that I want to share with you is not protecting my curls overnight. So in order to preserve my curls and all of this styling and make it last a lot longer, I like to use a silk bonnet when I sleep. I like to take my hair and kind of flip it over like this, and then I'll kind of just gather it very loosely at the top of my head. And then I like to take this and just slip it over my hair, and I try to tuck in as much as I can, kind of like this. This is so easy. Yes, I know it can look kind of silly, but it doesn't really matter. You just want to protect your curls overnight. So when I'm sleeping on it, there's no damage happening no matter how I lay my head. So when you wake up and you take this out, your curls are nice and beautiful still. If you don't want to wear the bonnet, there's also really good options of silk and satin pillowcases that you can use instead, and that really helps to just prevent your hair from damage and frizz. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that my 10 tips will help you guys from making the same mistakes that I've made over the years. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!